Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. So in today's video, I'm going to be showing you guys 4 Dollar Tree, Hobby Lobby, on a budget type crafts that you can do for Halloween. I had a lot of fun crafting and making these, so if you are ready to get your craft on, grab your glue guns, plug them on in, and let's get into crafting.
Won't you take me home? Give me wings to fly. We can run away.
Okay guys, for this first one, I'm just going to take this Dollar Tree sign that I actually got last year, and I'm going to take the ribbon off to separate the two pieces. And here guys, I am very unsafely removing the string on the top. Don't do as I do, grab some scissors. And now I'm just going to take my little scraping tool and try to get off as much glitter as I can. I will warn you guys that it does take a little bit of arm grease. So now after you get the glitter off, what I'm doing is I'm just flipping the sign to the back, and I'm going to be cutting off the owl with my box cutter. I don't want the owl on there because I'm just kind of trying to make it like a hanging sign with words, and I don't really want the owl. It's a little too cutesy for my Halloween theme that I have. So now I'm just bending it and kind of trying to work it off there, and it does leave a little bit left behind, so I'm just taking my box cutter and going over it again just to try to get every little piece off of there and make it a clean looking break. And after I cut it, I realized that it was a little too crooked for me, so I'm just going and cutting it again. And what I'm using to cut it, guys, is just another Dollar Tree sign wood piece that got left behind. You can use a ruler or whatever you can find that's straight. I just had this on hand, so it's what I used. And then, guys, I'm just sanding the edges down, trying to make it look more neat and not as choppy. And then for the bottom arrow portion, I just took sandpaper right to it. I didn't bother with scraping the glitter off. I didn't want to bother with it. So I just took some sanding paper that I got from Dollar Tree and scraped it. And now guys, I'm just drawing lines on how I want my arrow to look because there is a witch in the front. She's too cutesy of a witch again, so I just want it to be like a normal arrow. So I'm just tracing out the lines of where I want to cut it, and then I'm just going to go ahead and cut all the excess pieces off that I don't want on there. And then again, like the first piece, I'm just sanding down the edges to kind of make it look more neat and not as choppy. Now guys, I'm just going to go ahead and give it a coat of black Waverly chalk paint in the color ink and just coat it, and then also make sure that you get the sides of the arrow as you see that I will show you guys. Now what I'm doing now is I'm just taking some Mod Podge and I'm going to coat the first little chunk here. I just want it to look like a sign. Like I said, we're going to pretend that owl's not there. And after I give it a good coat of Mod Podge, I'm going to take some of my black spider web scrapbook paper and just kind of sit it on there as neat as I can. I also try to place my scrapbook paper to the point where I could cut most of the excess off and use it for a different craft because I don't like to waste stuff. And as you guys can see here, I took a piece that I saved from a different project and fit it on this little part here that didn't quite get covered when I put the scrapbook paper on it originally. And now I'm just going to go ahead and cut all the excess off that's hanging off of the sign. And then I'm just going to go ahead and Mod Podge the bottom portion and repeat the same thing that I did on the top. Now what I'm doing here is I'm just taking the Mod Podge and going over all the edges of all the paper to make sure it doesn't roll up and make sure that it all stays on and looks neat. And then as you can see here, I'm just going ahead and cutting off all the excess, but I'm getting closer to the wood than I did when I just at first just kind of chopped it all off. And then after that, I am going to take my box cutting knife and lay something underneath it and just kind of try to get more of a precise cut on the areas where I can't really get in with the scissors. And then here I'm just taking more of the sanding paper and going over the edges, and it does kind of tear a little bit, but I didn't mind the rustic look. And now I'm just taking that Waverly color in ink, and I'm just going to go ahead and paint the moon black and then those two jack-o'-lanterns at the bottom. And I kind of have to just make up the moon lines because the scrapbook paper did cover it up. And I also do the same with the pumpkins by just adding some stems to them. And then here you'll see I'm just taking a smaller brush and adding the stems and just adding any more smaller details that I couldn't get with that big brush that I was using. Now guys, I'm just taking the arrow after it's dried, and I'm using this stencil that I got from Dollar Tree. I'm just going to go ahead and take another Waverly color in mineral and kind of just sponge brush the stencil onto there to where I think that it's got a good full coverage, and then I'm just going to go ahead and remove it. And I also take a paintbrush at the end of that and kind of just go over it because it looked a little not as bold as I wanted it to look. And then I'm just taking that mineral chalk paint color again, and I'm just kind of adding a little bit of dimension into the moon and the pumpkins by just painting it on lightly and then smudging it out with my fingers until I liked how it looked. Now I'm just taking this October little sticker thing that I got at the dollar spot in Target for only $1. And I'm just going to go ahead and stick that to the top board. Now again guys, you can put whatever you want on here. You can paint something, you can stencil it, you can do whatever you want and make it say whatever you want. I'm also taking these bats from the Target dollar spot that were only $1 and just sticking those on the bottom. And then I'm just going to flip it over and use this black ribbon that I had on hand. You could always re-glue that orange ribbon on, but I just didn't want orange in my little decor scheme, so I just went ahead and did some black ribbon. And then I just put the little ribbon on there for the hanging part, and that's it guys, and this is how it turned out. Next I'm just going to take one of these Home Sweet Haunted Home signs from Dollar Tree, flip it to the back, and then I'm just going to go ahead and scrape the little label off there. And then I'm just going to give it a good coat of Waverly chalk paint in the color ink again. And after that's dry, I'm just taking another stencil from Dollar Tree. This actually came in the same pack as the other one came in. I think it comes in 4. And I'm just going to take the mineral color by Waverly Chalk Paint and go ahead and sponge brush that on until I like the opacity of it and how it looks. I'm just taking the black paint again and kind of fixing the boo-boos I did with the white paint, and that's all for this craft guys. It was super simple, super easy, just to kind of make it not look so cute and more of a haunted, spooky looking kind of decor piece. Now for the third craft, I'm just going to go ahead and take this Dollar Tree lantern and some of these picks, and I'm just going to take the lid off the Dollar Tree lantern. It's really simple, and then just pull this plastic piece out. And I'm just going to cut the individual pieces off this stem and I'm going to use these to kind of wrap around the lantern. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take a dollop of hot glue and stick it down in the corner where I like it. And all I'm going to do guys is I'm just going to wrap it all around this fake little candle to give it more of like a spooky vibe. And after that, guys, I did glue a spider and a few more little branches on the top of the lid. I totally lost that footage, but just know that you guys can definitely do that and customize it to kind of how you guys like it. And then you guys just put the lid back on. You got to try to push it down a little bit and move some of the floral pieces out of the way because it did make it a little complicated. But this is how it turned out, guys. I'm so sorry for losing the footage of where I glued the spider on, but it's pretty self-explanatory, just a little hot glue, and you guys are good to go. And then for the last craft in today's video, I'm taking this little skull and crossbone piece. I actually got this at Michael's on sale. I believe I paid $6 for it. And I'm also going to take 2 of Dollar Tree's candlesticks, and I'm going to take them outside and spray paint them black. And then what I'm going to do is just paint over it with the chalk paint because I didn't want them looking shiny. I wanted them to look more like chalky and like have a matte finish to them. And now I'm just taking some E6000. This will just make sure that it bonds better than just hot glue, but then I'm taking hot glue so it'll stick for the time being while the E6000 dries. And then I'm just going to take my finger and kind of get all the hot glue off the sides because it did ooze out a little bit. And now to attach the skeleton onto this, I'm just going to do the same thing with the E6000 and the hot glue gun. And once I stick him on there, I realized there was parts of him that weren't touching or there weren't enough glue. So then I'm just going to take my glue gun and go around the outside to where his head connects to this and just make sure that there's a good hold. And that's the finished look, guys. I hope that you liked it because I really was obsessed with this one. Thank you guys for getting to the end of my video. I hope you enjoyed some of these crafts and have plenty of ideas of ways that you can change them up or just make them exactly how I did if you like them. Other than that, guys, thank you so much for watching and I'll see you guys in my next video.